Kevin, I've recently been on my holidays to Japan. Would you like to see the silliest thing that I bought in Japan?
Yes, please.
So it's... Here it is. It's...
How big's the bloody wheelbase?
Oh, no. Oh, hold on. Wait a minute. Actually, there's a little bit of muck on here, so I'm just going to pop this in the wash. I'm just going to pop this in the wash over here. Right. Oh, Kevin, sorry. I shouldn't have done that during the record, but I'm going to get that out of the wash now and just see how that's how that's
done.
getting on.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh, no.
It's all...
How small is that bloody wee? Good Lord. Cinema Swirl! How long are these part-time hours for at this part-time job? It's episode number 1 to 4! Hello once again, it's me, your old pal, Captain Kevin, joined as I am always by my OTP, Sam Chaplin, who's not seen many movies other than the 123 others that we've done episodes on, and Cinema Swirl on Patreon as well. Sam, you're back from your holidays, and you had such a good time, you came back, and classic Kevin, Cinema Swirl logo Kevin, arguably the Kevin I should have been for our launch onto YouTube. Probably should have had this beard, shouldn't I?
Kevin's got the beard back, and I noticed straight away and remembered that, bloody hell, your beard grows quick. I know people always talk about your facial hair, and you'll be sick of talking about it, but that was a fairly quick... You know,
I feel like maybe the average kind of understanding of how long it takes for a beard to come in might make people think like, how big's the bloody holiday that this lad's been on? But I had good fun in the Podcrab's offices with the betting pool that was going on of, will Kevin look socially acceptable to have his beard by the time of the recording of the next Cinema Swirl?
And viewers on YouTube, you be the judge.
And it's good as well because... Obviously, we got a lot of lore heads on Cinema Swirl here. People like the continuation, all that. And we had such great positive feedback to the previous character which we had, which was disgraced tennis player.
Yes.
We now have the follow-on to that, which is disgraced tennis player who has become a lumberjack since his conviction and sentencing.
Yes.
Have you had your day in court, sir? I'm just trying... yes, I've had my day in court. Chop, chop.
Again, the amount of Kevin Mahon amiibo variants that we've got going on here. You know, the limited edition foil box ones that you've got.
You'd buy them all, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
You'd buy them all.
I'd pay top dollar.
Sam, do your special lie that you do when you buy the toys that I think is very, very good, and everyone should adopt one in a similar situation.
What's my special lie?
You go, the kids love these. I used to be I feel weird about buying them. I'll just say the kids love these, and there you go. You're grand.
Honestly, mate, great stocking fillers, aren't they? Yeah.
The guy took a second to think about the ergonomics of putting in an amiibo in a stocking. For goodness sake, he'd be rumbled. Sam, how you been? Are you feeling ready to watch another movie that you've not seen before?
Yes. I've also realised that my hair has kind of grown out to Cinema Swirl logo length. Your beard's back where it was. Well, look.
Do you want to emulate the poses?
Yeah, what was my... I can't move my mouth to the way Joe drew it. It looks really good. It does look like me, but my mouth doesn't physically go...
We look fairly fucking miserable, don't we? Like, in fairness, like, we have a lot more fun than that logo that's on, I think.
We should put... You know, one of those like Snapchat filters or whatever that like makes you have a smile. We should point that at it and then just screenshot that, put that on the podcast. Yeah, I'm excited to watch more movies. It's been a while.
It's been too long. Mad Max #2 is on the docket today.
Yeah,
Sam, what do you know about this? Because you've randomly burst into praise of an unrelated Mad Max movie. Well, should I say related Mad Max movie on this very podcast series?
Okay, look. What's going on here, all right? Because this is another one of those ones where we start with the sequel. Why? Why are we going Mad Max 2? Why?
Oh, so you've met my question with another question. I see.
Yeah, I put it to you, mate. What's going on there?
That's the podcast parry that I've come to expect from my sword mate, Sam Chaplin here. So... I want to say like a real fuck off answer, like, it's the algorithm, man. You know, it's just the way it is. You put that 2 in there, people are drawn to it.
Sure.
It is. I'm not saying it's a better, or dare I say even a more important movie, but it is a more, in some ways, oddly obvious starting point for the franchise. Right. And if you really need more explaining of that, just like with Terminator when we did like that.
Yeah.
The first one's great and special and brilliant in its own right, but when people talk about, you know the way in Mad Max, they mean this one. You do at home saying you don't. You do, though. You do.
Now they probably mean the Fury Road one.
You could draw an easier line between Fury Road and this than the first one. And I'm not saying the first one is bad. It's awesome. It's great. We will do it as much as our appetite to do more Mel Gibson content is just...
Can't wait. So I've seen Mad Max Fury Road, right? I've not seen Mad Max Furiosa.
The Furiosa DLC that came out for
I've not seen that.
It's game length.
I remember enjoying Fury Road. I remember everyone thinking it was the best thing ever. And I saw it and thought, it's a very good thing. I had a good time.
Have you watched it since?
No, and I don't necessarily remember loads about it.
Give me what you do remember. What's this world? Why is Max so blooming mad?
We're in the desert, and we've got vehicles, and they're fucking they're like driving around. They're going full pelt.
What type of vehicles, Sam?
You know, proper rust bucket. You know, spit and sawdust. Yeah. Some real
lemons.
Buckets of bolts.
Bangers. That's the thing, these kids these days, when I'm like, I used to walk by the scrapyard and be like, banger after banger after banger. Yes. And it doesn't mean the same. And it's not sausages either, Brits.
No.
Yeah, get it through your skulls, man. What, were you a vehicles kid growing up? You into vehicles?
I think all children are into... yeah. I like, but you know,
you liked vehicles.
Yeah.
Did you draw pictures of vehicles?
Yeah, and you know, I had RC cars, not cars that are being a bit RC. I mean, remote control. All right, but as an adult, I've dealt with a few RC cars. You know, when it doesn't get into the right blooming gear.
And a few Mardy ones as well. I'm sure, being from the East Midlands. They talk like that. They talk like that there, if you believe.
Yeah, I like vehicles.
Favorite vehicle as a child?
Oh.
Let's play a fun guessing game. Okay. I'm going to try and guess yours. You can try guess mine, okay? You're a helicopter man.
I respect the answer. It doesn't feel right.
It's a good attempt.
I think one of us is fire engine. And I don't know who.
Is it Fireman Sam over here?
It might be Fireman Sam. You know, like a big fucking rectangle on wheels that just goes, you know.
Like when it says nee no, but it's all in capital letters.
Yes, yeah. I'm struggling to guess yours. Favourite vehicle? Is it like a movie tie-in vehicle, or are we just talking like vehicle of transport?
Probably is in some Saturday morning cartoon series I saw when I was a boy and then became uniquely obsessed with it.
What's the fucking... what's it called? It's sort of like a boat, but it goes on the land. What's it called? The one that sort of floats on the... Frank Black is on one in one of his music videos. What's it called?
Oh, hovercraft.
Hovercraft. Are you a hovercraft lad?
I mean, probably when I was 13, the hovercraft was like my ironic post-vehicle favourite vehicle, you know. I rejected vehicles, and then I embraced them again, you know. Very much the Donkey Kong Country 2 of vehicles as far as I was concerned. No, my favourite vehicle as a child was a drilling machine because I found loads of my copybooks from when I was very young, and every other page had a vehicle with like 3 windows, portholes, if you will, and a track like a tank would have, and a big drill front. Now, I'm pretty sure in like Ninja Turtles or something like that, people were hanging around in a driller machine or G.I. Joe or something like that. But I lived to hypothetically dig as a young'un.
Kevin, I've got a great response to that. Boring, because that's sort of like drilling, isn't it? That's
very good. It's good. You want to dig a little deeper there, folks. That's what happened there. Into the depths of the comedy mines. So we're expecting jalopies bangers in the desert.
Yeah.
Desert's basically like sunshine paradise. What's everyone so pissed off about? Grab a cocktail, I say.
I think it's post-apocalyptic. I think we're struggling for scraps. There's probably some bottle caps there's currently knocking about. There's a sort of quasi-religious thing going on with the idea of Valhalla. I remember being a thing, and like, is that the thing?
Yeah, it's certainly a thing.
I've got the words "cult of the machines" in my head, but that is absolute bollocks. I don't know where I've got that
that's
from.
one of our bands, I think. Is in the Cult of the Machine, I believe. Like, now we get cease and desist from Cult of the Machine. They're gonna be pissed when we start to say that we were them. Oh my god! Yeah, I feel like what we've had here is an exercise in you trying to remember a movie that you already seen, as opposed to suppose what this movie is.
Right.
I mean, you know who's in it, right?
Mel Gibson.
Someone who we've somehow avoided this man for eons.
We had him for Passion of the Christ, but behind the scenes, behind the camera.
I swore it was him playing the devil, but it wasn't. It was just special effects.
He just embodies that character in his personal life. That's the
You know
way
what? I feel really bad for our mums, the mums of the 90s and the noughties, Sam. The mums who would have sat down with a nice copy of Mum magazine circa 1994, and on the front cover it would probably be your man there now, Mel Gibson, with some permutation of the phrase Mondo Hyperhunk.
Yes,
and he was just a nice, friendly... He's the only lads that we've done on Cinema Swirl who 2 times a priest in school made reference to his life story in his homily.
Yeah,
like he was everywhere, and now he's felt like he's just kind of like fringe figure, like Louis C.K. for anti-Semites or something like that. Like, so he's kind of like, I'm gonna say it's like, it's. I feel bad for everyone who's a big fan of his, but his fall from like kind of national or worldwide acceptance to being just this kind of thing that's there. Like, I feel people are resigned to him existing. Like, well, they'll never stop playing Michael Jackson songs, I guess.
No.
I'm not ranking bad things just in terms of like public falls from grace.
Yes. And look, we probably don't need to get too far into why he's bad.
No, that's on our special uncut version of this that'll be on Rumble and all good, honest, free speech platforms. We'll get to talk about all his views.
You know, you were talking about Mum magazine and mums liking actors.
Yeah.
Who was your mum's sort of go-to handsome actor bloke?
I think she was not... The thing is about her, she's had phases. I know she's been partial to Colin Firth, but when that came, was it early? Was it late? I was more attuned to who my mum absolutely hated.
Okay,
and
good.
She hated that prick Paul McCartney and that prick David Bowie. Like, basically, like,
your dad really likes Paul McCartney, though, doesn't he?
He does, and that's the kind of flame at the center of the ongoing, like, kind of like that. That's where the passion comes from, you know. Yes. I've listened to many an old school promo right down the barrel about that prick Paul McCartney.
Over on Patreon, I showed Kevin the Meat Free Mondays video of Paul McCartney's, and, you know, so maybe you're less, you know, favourable towards Paul now.
Well, I told my mum my favourite anecdote ever, which is when I saw Paul McCartney, he got hit in the head with a marker right at the end after doing like his third encore.
She delighted.
She was like, good.
I'm glad.
It's what he deserved.
My mum's was Kevin Costner.
Oh, yeah. That's a
classic.
Kevin Costner is very much the I'm reading it for the articles of Mum magazine. It's it's kind of accepted. Yeah, of course. Everyone loves you. Love Kevin Costner, don't you? Yes. You at home.
I don't know too much about Mad Max other than the aesthetic, I think, is the thing. Like, I'm going to say spikes. I'm going to say studs. I'm going to say leather, I think.
Yeah, we're getting a little bit fetishy again here with the description of what's going on. I mean, when did this movie come out in your mind? And that's, I think, probably will give you the best sense of like where to kind of imagine, because I don't think it's fair to imagine a 2016 blockbuster and think, well, I'll be seeing that for my supper tonight.
Mad Max, it's Mad Max 2.
It's got a subtitle as well, if you know it.
Mad Maximum.
It's Too Mad, Too Max. Come on, you know this.
Okay.
The Road Warrior.
The Road Warrior. That sounds like a separate film.
It's this one.
Okay, right. So this Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior. I thought... Okay. 1982.
Wow, you're close.
Am I?
You're very close.
Yeah.
You're so close, I'll tell you, you're 1 year off. It's 1981.
Okay. I was trying to think when, like, peak Mel Gibson would have been. I think that probably lines up. Because I think, like,
he owned the mid to late 80s. So yeah. And in terms of like what you remember from the Mad Max character when you saw Fury Road, are there any kind of things about him that stand out?
He's mad.
And the problem is, a lot of men today, they don't feel comfortable discussing even the male characters when they remade the Mad Max movies, and they put a lady in it. And I just kind of want there to be a safe space for men to be able to say which bits they liked with the men in it, is all, you know?
Mad Maxine? Question.
It's fine. It's fine.
No, don't tell me what the thing. What I've missed something. I feel like I mean, he's definitely like the main character in the one you've seen, but he's kind of, I think he shares lead responsibilities with Charlize Theron's character in many respects. Yeah. You know, it is a joint lead, which like the UK Green Party, there was co-leaders in that particular feature film. But I just think it is interesting. Back in the 80s, none of that, mate. None of that.
Forget none of that. Mel Gibson had to be the figurehead of every political party, regardless of their alignment on the spectrum. So I feel like you are struggling to remember anything about the titular Mad Max.
I just remembered it. I remember everyone thinking it was good, really good. I remember me thinking it was good. I remember it being very orange. I remember there was lads with white face paint going, or like strapped on the front of it. There's guitars. There's a musical component.
Are you expecting big bangs, car chases, explosions? Like, our Mad Max fellow here, are you expecting to be like, damn, that's one big piece of ass? That type of a guy? Or, you know, is he going to be more of a stoic figure? Or do you know what type of 80s... We're literally getting an 80s action star here.
On the Silence Man to Duke Nukem scale, I reckon we're talking a kind of 6 here, you know, kind of...
Okay, so a bit of sass, but
a bit
reserved.
Of sass, but not loads of sass.
He's not all sass, no brakes.
Although I don't think those cars slow down. I think they go really quick and they keep going and they're driving around the desert. Somehow they're staying fueled. I think that's probably a component to it, but...
What country?
What country?
What country?
Is this set?
All I'll just say is, like,
from?
You know, there's a country that's strongly associated with Mad Max. I don't know if you know what it is.
Australia?
Hey!
Because Mel Gibson's Australian.
The progress there, you could have gotten 10 British people in the room there who'd never seen Mad Max, and they would have said, 9 of them at least, Britain. And he did.
British.
I know we've seen one of the other ones, and he heard the accents. It's still progress. We'll take what we can get.
It's down under. Maybe all the cars are sort of, they go the wrong way and they're upside down and all that kind of stuff.
I'm sorry, folks. You went a bit too far. I know it was just banter at the end of the day, though. Like, I think you went a bit too far. Yeah, this podcast is about loyalty and respect, and I think that maybe you were a bit muggy there. I'm sorry, you were a bit muggy. To the folks down under there. A bit muggy. Okay. I'm sorry. So I apologise on behalf of my British co-host there, ladies and gentlemen, once again. Sam, do you think you're going to enjoy this movie? Is it for you?
I don't know. It's one of those ones where I think it could go either way. And hey, I know that sounds like a cop-out answer because that's how everything works. But I think I could really like not feel this at all. Or I could be like, oh, I've missed out on fucking Mad Max. Mad Max is great.
It's going to be a winter warmer. I think you're going to have a good time. It's a nice lean 90 minutes. It's a bit action.
Oh, yes.
It's not... And also as well, I feel that because Mad Max kind of came out again... and it's been more in the cultural zeitgeist, whatever it is recently, I feel a little bit of the pressure is off for it to be like, oh, let's see what this is all about then. Because you know a fair bit of it in some respects. But I'm interested to see because there were those of us who had seen this movie, and then we saw that one, and it's like, it's great. It reminds me of when I'm slightly younger. And it was a nice feeling that. And that was a feeling that was quite heady in 2016 with your Force Awakenses and whatnot.
Yeah.
But you'd be the first person I know who's seen this after having seen Fury Road. And I don't know if this will come off as like old shit Fury Road edition. Like,
this will weirdly remind me of when I was younger as well. But like only about, 7 or 8 years younger,
That's younger in a sense, but like... When you were growing up, is this one that the Big Brother would have been watching? It feels like this is good Big Brother territory, right?
Maybe, yeah. I probably need to ask my brother, like, what films do you like?
Look, Sam, we both want our bigger brothers to become featured characters, but let's be honest, both of them need to put the effort in. Yeah. And That's it. It's not. It's not.
You're not far off.
You don't get to find out their opinions because they don't have a podcast. Although a podcast where my big brother and your big brother sit down and chat about what they reckon we get up to here, us crazy younger siblings, that would be audio.
Yes.
Can you imagine?
Oh, look, I'm excited either way to find out what this is and whether I like it, you know?
Just a side note as well, folks. There was the alternate for this episode was going to be maybe we're going to do 4 weddings and a funeral.
Yes.
Because Sam had some news recently.
I did. I'm holding out my hand, but there was no ring on it because I didn't get an engagement ring, but I'm now engaged.
Lost another one, mate. It's sad, yeah. So as soon as I found that out, I was like, right, Guy Patrol. Lads night. Lost another one, mate. Lost another one. So I thought, get Lad Patrol on the phone.
Yeah.
Get me Mad Max 2. Yeah. I've actually sent a pizza over to Sam's house now.
Yes.
He's not allowed to share any of it with his bride-to-be.
No.
And she's not allowed to see any of the movie either. It's strictly forbidden. And he has to wear headphones when he's doing it. And there'll be a voice call where I'll look him in the eye the entire time he's watching that movie. And we'll get it all sorted.
Stanley can be involved because he's one of the lads. So that's
he is one of the lads.
Yeah.
But Sam, I'm very, very happy for you. And I'm very excited for you to be... I'm very excited for this podcast to become 2MM, 2 married mates. Not to each other.
Not to each other.
Different. Not to each other.
You know, yeah.
I'm going to talk to my married friend. Oh, he happens to be Sam, my OTP as well. My one-time password holder.
2MM OTP.
Get that on a shirt. That'll work. Yeah, that's good. Do your business, Spotify. Generate a chapter and then turn it into a t-shirt. That's a feature that's coming.
The chapter name is 2MM OTP Diddly D. Spotify, put that there as a chapter, please. Thank you.
It's funny. I've had some light analysis circle back to me from some listeners across the network. Yeah. And apparently, whenever one of ye make that joke and tell it to do a certain chapter on this or one of the other shows, it does it. But when I do it, it doesn't do it right, because I think much like many Google Home and Amazon assistants, it is predisposed to not listen to the Irish.
When you say one of ye, you mean my lot?
Brits!
Yeah. Oh, Spotify, would you put a chapter here, please? Yes, jolly good.
Doing it right now and cancelling Kevin's timer for his cookies in another city. You son of a bitch! You said it was running! Damn you! The long story short, technologies went too far, but before we delve into the post-apocalyptic hellscape that will no doubt wrath upon us, let's wrath into that mailbag. Let's unwrath this. I'm all wrathed up here.
Welcome to the mailbag. Thank you, as ever, for your questions, queries, comments into cinemaswirl@gmail.com.
It's cinemaswirl@gmail.com.
Or the YouTube comments. All right?
Mamma mia.
Now we're fucking cooking. We're on YouTube.
It's open.
It's there, including all the old episodes as like static audio. You can go back and you can comment on those. And that is exactly what Callum has done. Callum writes the following.
Look at this. Callum, you ever feel like stepping foot in the moon because you're breaking new ground? Whoa. That's what this is like, you know? Can he breathe there in the YouTube comments system? Is he okay? Is he alive?
Let's find out. This is a comment on episode 10, Empire Strikes Back. Sorry for commenting about this.
Someone got the notification.
Sorry for commenting about this. 10 years after the podcast was released. Kevin mentions wanting a toy AT-AT, as a kid. Well, I had one, but it wasn't all it's cracked up to be. We also had a dog who was only slightly bigger than the AT-AT. When I took it out of the box on Christmas morning and rested my hand on the AT-AT's back, well, the dog wasn't having that.
Oh, no.
She shoved the AT-AT out of the way, got between me and it, and started growling at the toy. After that, the AT-AT had to go and live in the attic for its own safety.
Not in the attic! Not... Oh, dear. Wow, I mean, now I didn't have a dog, I had a cat.
A cat-at.
And at one point I had like 6 cats in the house. And I feel like with the cats, maybe on their own a cat wouldn't have much of an issue. I had no problem with it. Stanley, I'm sure would. But a legion of, like a group of 6 cats, I think you're looking at a Battle of Hots situation. They'd spin it around and they'd make it fall over. So, yeah, I honestly, I'm really enlightened and enraptured with joy from your comment. I am slightly disappointed because when that started, my head was telling me that your message was going to tell me that it was like a shit toy and it was like it didn't move well and it was like not nice and you got like poisoned from playing with it or something. I'd be like, oh, good, but you didn't get poisoned or have a bad time with it. It was
so good that a dog got jealous.
It was so good.
Yeah.
Stanley, I don't think Stanley would take no ad bullshit though.
No, I'm trying to think what like a comparable toy to Stanley would be. Like if I just got like a novelty sausage toy,
I'd say if you stretched out a Vac-Man into the shape of him, that would be a long dark night of the soul for a sausage dog, I think.
Yeah, he wouldn't
look
like
into them
that.
eyes.
No.
Fucking hell, like.
Thank you, Callum, and please, anyone, if you fancy commenting on any episodes, even older episodes, go right ahead. It's quite nice that this is now an option.
Yes, have a go if you think you're hard enough. I've heard those YouTube comments are a wild west of all sorts.
So thank you for your questions, and if you've got more, send them in to... You know what? Send them wherever you want. Just, you know where to find us.
Bring it on.
Bring it on. Bring it on.
And speaking of bring it on, to bring on the bloody apocalypse, I'm sick of this world and so are you, apparently. So it's time to venture into the hellscape of Mad Max 2. Let's go do a Cinema Swirl.
Oh, this episode, as ever, was brought to you with the support of our wonderful backers over at patreon.com/Cinema Swirl. This month, in fact, right now, we've reviewed Waterworld, perhaps the perfect companion to Mad Max 2. It's a wonderful episode. Head on over to patreon.com/Cinema Swirl to find out more. But you might have noticed something more interesting. I'm wearing a Cinema Swirl t-shirt. Would you like to wear one? Well, if you head over to cinemaswirl.co.uk, that's right, cinemaswirl.co.uk, we have got t-shirts on sale again. They're back, they're better than ever, and you can now wear the beautiful Cinema Swirl logo in t-shirt form. That's cinemaswirl.co.uk. Oh, you're just doing black t-shirts again, lads? No, there are red ones as well. There's also pink ones, but I've not got one of those currently. Head on over to cinemaswirl.co.uk to check out the merch. And hey, if you're a $5 backer over on Patreon, you get a little discount code. So check it out. Make sure you get the discount if you're a Patreon backer. Or if you want a discount, join the Patreon, listen to some great episodes of Cinema Swirl, and get a t-shirt with a discount. Oh, it's too good to be true. cinemaswirl.co.uk. Thank you. Let's get swirling.
And we're Max. But are we mad? Initial gut reaction, Sam, to Mad Max 2 The Road Warrior.
Hey! It's one of them. Yeah, I was going to try and be clever with it and be like, I'm mad about how good that... But it's just, hey! It's, hey!
Oh, no. We got to retcon. You got to say you're mad about how much you enjoyed it. Right? Can't leave that. Like,
clean take.
Clean take.
I'm mad about how much I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I'd be going. Yep. Look at them watching and listening. They're raging. Good Lord. Now we're going to have a good time here is what it is. Sam, how many times do you think people have went up to Mel Gibson and when he's been upset or even just looked busy and went, don't be mad, Max?
Hey,
because it's confrontational. You can get him that way.
I wouldn't want to confront Mel Gibson at this stage.
I don't know why he feels very arrogant to me to his team. I feel he'd confront me first. Folks like Mel Gibson, it's them that do the confronting typically.
I suppose so, but I wouldn't want to rile him. But I'm sure there's been a bit of a bit of that. Yeah. It's a good character name.
It's a good character name.
He's not that mad.
He's not. No, I think he's like, it's like one of those words though, mad. Like I think its meaning has changed over the years.
Yeah.
Like you used to all say things, back in the 90s, we'd be like, that's mad good that is. And no one would be like, what is this insane? Is that what it is? But no one says mad anymore now because of woke.
I'm trying to think of what else you could put in front of Max that'd be great. Pepsi.
Yeah, I figured that was where you were going for. Mad brackets for Pepsi Max, Sam Chaplin, the Road Warrior, because he doesn't like driving, as he's established on this show.
I don't.
Many times.
Yeah, I had that was fun. For context, I don't know whether I should let this slip or not. I watched this in an unusual circumstance.
What, on ITVX? It's fucking weird. I didn't like that. No thanks. oosh, I think is actually what you believe. Yes, and we did review the Keith Lemon movie, and that's the only reason I know that is because of all of ye lovely listeners.
Oosh. I watched it at 5:30 a.m. Which is an unusual time to be watching a film for Cinema Swirl. I've not watched any Cinema Swirl films at 5:30 a.m. Listener, I am suffering with what you and I know as jet lag.
Jet lag. So, I hear when you get engaged, this happens. It's like you lag behind in the banter with all your mates, and they're like, where are you? Lost another one, man. Lost another one.
Come on, man. So what's happened is that I've been waking up at about 5:30. Well, it was 4, then it was 4:30, then it was 5. I'm sort of still adjusting my body clock back to where it was. I did.
So you're kind of like rotating around the clock and like slowly slowing down to get back on the right spot, basically.
Yeah, I did intend after we recorded to go downstairs, sit down, and watch the film.
Did you have a sleep?
Stanley was there. I thought, there's no harm in me going horizontal for this.
Oh.
And then there was harm in that. And before the film had even started, I was fast asleep. So
Sam.
But it was quite nice.
Crazy to think the viewership drop off on Cinema Swirl when Sam said that Mad Max literally sent him to sleep. They were hating that. They were furious that was his first reaction to the movie.
I don't think it's the optimal time to watch it, but weirdly, it was quite a fun time to watch a film. Because I felt I felt fine. I felt, good.
I have said this over on the Patreon before, because I went through a phase of early rising. I think it was like last year. I just went through this phase of I just somehow clicked back into old habits and started waking up at 6 or 7 in the morning, earlier than I had been waking up. And I would watch Marvel movies that you had no real business knowing anything about, Ant-Man 2. Boy, I missed it. I missed it in the cinema. Didn't even get to see Ant-Man 3. I missed it. So you watch it in the morning. And when you watch a movie in the morning, did you have cereal by any chance? Because it is something of a portal to a nostalgic feeling. Early morning, cereal and movie.
No, but only because I'm trying to game my body into coming back around to the correct timing. So I didn't want to...
So you had a dinner at that... So
I had a full 3-course dinner.
Sorry, mate. 4:30 in the morning. He was on the kebabs, I think. More likely.
I know some early risers get up to go to the gym or get errands done, but there's something nice about watching a full thing before the workday begins. It feels nice. Yeah, I like it.
And that must have been an interesting start to the day then, because your mind must have been filled with post-apocalyptic Australian shenanigans all the time. And he hasn't even watched the latest season of Married at First Sight Australia. Mate, that dinner party, it was a fucking apocalypse, is what it was. It was end of fucking days, never mind the end of the date.
So, that's some useful context for when I watch this.
I'm sorry, I'm fascinated by this.
Yeah,
I hope
please.
everyone else is. But a horizontal watch, particularly when one is taking notes for their podcast, that's not a typical way you'd go about things, is it?
I wasn't being honest with myself at that moment. I was lying to myself and to Stanley, who was cuddled up next to me.
Oh, no.
That was great.
He's all covered in sleepy dog dust. That'll send you off out like a light, They produce that. It's a natural defense.
And thanks once again to Dog Dust for sponsoring.
Yeah, Dog Dust really came in when Dog Passes kind of just really plateaued, really, in terms of the engagement I felt. So, Dog Dust, get your box every month delivered direct to your dusty door.
I must stress, Kevin, I'm a professional. I go into every film watch with full laptop usually, which is kind of mad.
Sam and I watch these movies much like your gran. Yes, your gran at home would take her dinner. I'll have it on my knee. We'll have it there now. The notes and the movie on our knee. Not one to bother anyone at the dinner table.
So this is a once in a blue moon lapse of professionalism, but I got up early and that felt even more professional.
Yeah, so I'm assuming that you didn't need a can of your morning Pepsi with this high-octane action flick. Was it having your blood pumping, was it?
Well, I mean, much like the food thing, I was waiting to have any caffeine or any food until the correct time in the morning, because of science that I've gleaned from podcasts or something.
There is no incorrect time for you to drink a can. I swear to God, you have had at one point in your life a can of Pepsi Max at any given point in the 24-hour clock.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, yeah. Yes.
It's like Animal Crossing. There's some hours you do less than others, obviously, but he's been up for them all. Like,
I've heard all the kind of variations on the Pepsi Max music, depending on what hour it is. But no, I didn't need it because my blood was pumping. And if anything, Mad Max is going to throw off my body clock by how much I was energized by this.
Yes, perhaps a foolish choice. You were correct, sir, with Australia as your designation. And if you didn't know that, you would have known it immediately with the mysterious Australian voiceover.
Kevin, I was watching it in Australian time. Surely that's what happened there. I was watching it in the evening, but with their time. The voiceover immediately smacks you in the face. Like, okay, this is canonically. Are they in Australia? Is that?
Yes.
Yes, this is in Australia. Yeah.
And we learned a lot from this monologue, which is there's one thing we need less of in politics, and that's talk.
There's not loads of dialogue in this, which is always good. There's plenty, but there's not loads.
It's very digestible compared to, say, if you were to watch Lethal Weapon with Mel Gibson, where a lot of that is like him, like directly to camera, like be like, empathize with me, the character who really looks like Mel Gibson, the guy from Mum Magazine. Whereas this, he's very much like Arnold Schwarzenegger in Terminator 1, in as much as I think you could fit all of his dialogue on the back of a box of cereal.
And what a box of cereal that would be. The title cards, proper, wonderful 80s cheese. I fucking loved it. Yes, please. Get that on a t-shirt. Put that t-shirt onto me.
So we're 43, nearly 44 years with this movie. That's how old it is. Jesus! It looks very good.
Looks good.
Looks very good.
Looks good.
I wish that when I am Ultra HD upscaled in my 40s, I look as good as this.
Well, we'll find out. I was going to say we'll soon find out, and that seemed insulting to you.
Whoa!
Oh, it's nice to think that we'll be doing Cinema Swirl in our 40s, most likely. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't like the tone of that most likely.
Well,
look, Dog Dust is our ticket to the top. I've told you this many times. Yeah. It's going to be, if you remember from my presentation titled, It's Going to Be Okay. It's going to...
I've realised why you've selected Mad Max 2. I feel like we don't need Mad Max 1. I don't know what was in it.
Having not said that, having not watched Mad Max 1, I feel like you've got, you can confidently say that you didn't need to have seen this.
I assume it's how he got to that point of being the Road Warrior. But it's way cooler for him to just be that.
Yeah,
from the
I mean, it's not just him as a character, but the whole world is kind of like, the world from Mad Max 1 is more of a transitional thing, as opposed to here it feels like it's been the apocalypse for as long as anyone can remember. But what is a great benefit for Mad Max, and this is coming straight from the writer's room who love this, all the stories in Mad Max are all technically like legend or whatever, so you can view them as being non-canonical. It's like Zelda, isn't it? It's like they can be non-canonical with one another, but there is always this character of Mad Max who has fallen through the cracks of legend, and that's why he's maybe slightly different from that woke Mad Max that you watched.
That's clever, actually, because that means that the one in the new ones is still the same character.
Yeah. So George Miller, the director, was able to say, oh no, we don't hate Mel Gibson, nor do we have to speak about anything. It's just that there won't be an old Mad Max, like the way there won't be an old Link, Although an old Link, that's how you get me back into that franchise times a million.
Old Man Link, yes. Yes. Listen, I can't hear you. No, scrap that. So I think nowadays, in terms of like films and kind of, I guess, video games and things, you would start it at this point, and then the kind of first film stuff would be, you'd release that as a prequel called like Mad Max Day Zero.
And I think, like, when we go back to this, I'm assuming we had the good noise after the post-roll began there, so I think we will be coming back to Mad Max.
Yes.
But for the first time ever, we'll be going 2, 1, 3, all probably on the Swirl timeline as opposed to the Swill. I'm not going to get into it with any Tina Turner fans in the comments. That is far beyond my capabilities.
No.
But, spoilers for the third one. Goodness gracious me.
Oh, is Tina Turner in one of these? Oh. I thought you were making a musical reference to a song I didn't know, and it's like, she must have a song called 213 or something.
Although I would like if Tina Turner had a song called Mad Max. That would be very, very cool. Yeah. Like the way she did with GoldenEye. Sam, I don't know about you, but I'm ready to wage war for a tank of juice. You want to talk about vehicles? You want to talk about big rigs? Sick big rigs? Yeah. I think it was on The Crow 2 where we realised big rigs are just great, aren't they? You know?
Yeah.
They are.
Who doesn't love a big rig? And we're immediately in car chase territory. We're launched right in. And there's a nice dog in the car as well with Max. So that's good.
How about that?
Stanley's dander and indeed his dog Dust would have been up had he not been asleep, because it was, as I've said, 5:30 in the morning and he was just settled down nicely.
Yeah, I think that Stanley wouldn't have gotten on with a lot of the dog action in this. No. And also, there's a lot of the eating of dog food. And I mean, I would hate you to be one of the many people who gets their body clock and their diet back in sync after being jet lagged and then accidentally jet lagged their dog by giving them food at the wrong time.
Yes, yeah.
That's the worst.
No, I don't want to mess with Stanley's body clock. God bless. And that, when I say Stanley's body clock, because he's a sausage shape, I'm imagining like a watch around his tummy.
Yeah, like the wristwatch. Yeah, definitely.
That's his body clock. Max is being chased by thugs, I think, or are they all trying to get the same big rig full of
There's
stuff?
a big rig, Sam, on the horizon, so everyone's getting in on it. And let me tell you, the beauty of a good car chase. This movie will be 140 years old and you can still watch this and go, ooh, look at them go. That's not a Sunday driver. They don't have days of the week anymore, assumedly, in this apocalypse.
Because it's real, man. Those are real cars doing real stuff, I assume, for most of it.
Have you ever been asked by, like when you were a kid growing up, did your parents ever go, we're going to go for a spin, and then you kind of would drive around like aimlessly?
No. My parents would drive with intentional purpose to places.
See, I think my parents would actually have had things that they were doing.
Yeah.
But I think that instead of being like, hey, you have to get in the car because we have a lot of chores to run, it's more like, we're going for a spin.
Go out. Yeah, okay.
Where are we going? Almost to Navan. Oh! That's where James Bond is from.
We get a couple of our villains straight away. Max is managing to take out some of these thugs, but two guys survive. What's the name of the kind of pink-haired?
Oh, I just called him That Horrible Man for most of the movie, if I'm honest, Sam. He looks a little bit like one of Dave Bautista's earlier wrestling guises. But, boy, I invoke wrestling not willy-nilly. I try to not, but like, my oh my, you can see the extent of which this movie, even if you just watch the first 5 minutes of it, so much has influenced wrestling, video games, comics, manga, often comics through manga, etc. Oh boy, there's a lot here to unpack.
Is there not a team called something like the Road Warriors?
Yes, there was the Road Warriors. Who, looked exactly like they had taken their... Obviously, though, the Road Warriors were reading Fist of the North Star. That's where they got that idea from. But Fist of the North Star was watching this.
Yes, it's very wrestling, this. It's very wrestling. It really is. There's a horrible scene of that lad pulling an arrow out of himself. Don't like that. You know about me, Sam? I don't know how you feel about it. If I had the arrow in me, and they're always pulling them out in movies, I'd just as well shove it in and not have to worry, not have to look at it, just... slide it in there, You've got a nice reinforced forearm there, I would, like with guitar strings, just trim the ends off, but then keep the bulk of it in there. Just tidy it up a bit. But I'm not pulling it out because you. That's all right. You're too much of a pussy to be a body modder like me. I'll pop it right up here into my upper arm, and then someone's like, "Whoa, feel the biceps on Kevin." Yeah, baby. I was fascinated by the little music box that plays Happy Birthday. That's not Happy Birthday, that's the football song. Is it? Yeah, game of football, or two. Because there's something better than two.
Like, have you ever been at a soccer game and they finish it and it's like, that's it, that's the end of the soccer, and then all the players are on the pitch and they all look at each other and go, you know what? I think the 12th man on the field here is thinking what we're thinking, and let's run it back. Hey, everyone get into your positions.
Look, it happens at gigs. You have encores.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you do that at the football? If we've had such a great time, we've had such a beautiful game, have a bit more.
What's more beautiful than the beautiful game? The beautiful games. That's what we like to call them when they stack them up like that. No shortage of jump scares at the start of this. A lot of horrible things falling out of trucks, etc.
Look, I don't want to go back to the happy birthday thing, but that... I know it seems like a minor detail, but that's before that song became public domain. So they've paid the license for that. They've paid the money.
The happy birthday license holder? Because I always imagine someone like the guy who runs IKEA, where it's like, oh, they just live in a humble shack, but they make trillions of dollars.
Obsessed with this IKEA guy.
I hate him.
You hate how content he is in his little house.
Look, not many times in life where I've thought that, okay, other than maybe in Dexter's Lab, but other than that, there's not many times in my life where I'm thinking, oh, there's the humble house, and I know what's underneath that, and it's probably a sprawling network of semi-detached houses, and you go into one for eating your chips and another one for having a cup of tea, and then you don't even clean up afterwards. I know you, the wonderful everyday indeed.
One for dime bar cheesecake, one for meatball. You know, you got all these houses. Yeah,
the wonderful everyday my foot, Sam.
Yeah, lots of jump scares, lots of people falling out of things, lots of blah, blah, blah. It's quite silly in tone. I didn't realise it was a bit consciously kind of camp and daft.
Did it introduce itself in these opening scenes as being like, oh, it's like Fury Road, it's that franchise, it's that vibe? Like, how similar did it feel, or was there a point in the movie where it was like, oh, now we're talking, it's that movie again?
It felt distinctly different. I need to watch Fury Road again, I think, and kind of refresh myself on what that was like. In my mind, it was a bit sort of grittier, but that might not be true. Fury Road might also be quite silly daft in places.
I feel like Fury Road was a little sillier, but the fact that you viewed like this early doors was coming across with a nice, silly, playful vibe to you.
Yeah,
it doesn't mean it's not. It's still good. Don't worry. It's not. We're not insulting Mad Max.
It's not a comedy, but it's willing to be silly.
Certainly not, Sam. Nothing funny about a lack of gasoline. Boy, there's a flying machine, and this ain't no typical flying machine. This is a straight up contrabulous flaptraption, this thing. Whoa!
I mean, we were talking about favourite vehicles, and this one, I mean, you know, it's a silly vehicle, but it's fun.
When I said earlier that I thought you were a helicopter man...
Yeah, did you mean this?
It was not dissimilar to this, the thing that I imagined in my head, you piloting.
I mean, me and Stanley in one of these.
That you're very like Wacky Races or Catch the Pigeon then at that kind of point, aren't you? You're a guy and a dog just fucking about in a fun vehicle, like.
Or a really crap one on Twisted Metal, I think, is what... But Max has been tricked. He's been fooled.
By a man in the sand.
Yes, who I think, I'm going to say it, deserves a character name.
Gyro Captain, not doing it for you.
No.
See, for me, though, I like that. Because the thing about this movie, and I think it's something that helps with its kind of lore of it being like kind of all scattered legends or whatever, is that like names that do actually seem kind of less important in some ways, you know, because they're not in a society where the giving of names is done other than in a particular pot of, you know, civilization here or there. So maybe the fact that even though this guy's around so much and he's just called Gyro Captain, is like,
right.
And that's what they call me down at the Greek restaurant I frequent.
Very good. Can I counter that argument and say Mad Max and Silly Steve? Would you not be happy with that? You know, because he's kind of the comic relief character and he's a bit silly.
He is,
I'm saying Silly Steve.
I was saying this earlier, and it's often the silliest ones I feel this about. When he first comes out of the sand with his crossbow, he's fucking terrifying. I find like how like twitchy and I don't think he's like a physical imposing threat, but the fact that he's like so desperate and wiry and manic or whatever it is, like it feels like either of these guys are going to die like immediately as soon as this scene begins. So I like how he goes from the area of scary to like cuddly, heartwarming, silly Billy within 75 minutes or thereabouts.
Actually, Mad Max and Silly Billy is better, I think.
Yeah, Silly Billy. Yeah. No offense to Billy, I'm not saying he's silly. I don't ascribe to that description.
But I know what you mean about that kind of unhinged scariness. In a way, Kevin, the real zombies are the humans who have survived the zombie apocalypse. And there's no zombies in this, but it's the same sort of thing, isn't it?
I've said it time and time again. If Sam and I were in Dead Rising, you wouldn't be saving us. We'd inexplicably be bosses with witty dialogue. And when Sam showed up, they'd play, one of those songs that he likes so much.
Just music.
Music, yeah.
You like those songs, don't you? Max manages to sort of outsmart this captain and has got him on the back foot.
Your vessel is mine, Captain. I've outsmarted you.
And he is bargaining to keep himself alive by saying he knows where there's a whole refinery, a rig. Well, kind of a rig. Is that a rig? There's
an oil rig.
Oil. There's oil.
You know?
He knows where that is, but he won't reveal it until he gets the... Like, keep him alive. He needs to be kept alive. So now Max has got a little mate and a little hostage.
Yeah, he's got a dog who's helping him keep a guy hostage.
Yeah.
That's a pretty fun way. I mean, that was a road trip right there. You could have done a needle drop of any number of late 90s comedies at this point, and this movie would have taken a completely different vibe. You got a dog, you got Mad Max, you got Silly Billy, there's a couple of guns, Mad Max. I tell you what, Sam, I love the vehicle, but I'm very partial to a big base.
Yes, this is great. A vantage point of a big base, looking at it through binoculars and getting some key context clues. That's great stuff, and that's very video gamey, but it's video gamey because of things like this that have inspired the video games later on.
Oh, baby. Look, I know that it's not the obvious thing to say, because I've never had a dog, so I'm not but that kind of dog food he was eating did kind of look delicious towards the end. He really, and it's because hunger is the best sauce, isn't it? I'm not saying I want to eat the dog food, but if I was in the post-apocalyptic scenario and was very hungry, I'd cherish the dog food.
Well, what seems to be happening is that Max eats all the dog food and then gives his dog the scraps of dog food. I think, given the name of the type of food, the dog gets first go,
Yeah, it's,
But look, I know what's going on.
Look, if anyone has a piece of Sam food or Kevin food before us, they'll be the first to find out about it because we'll be very upset.
That's not on. So these three, this little gang, they're watching the refinery from a distance, and after maybe a night, they see those lot leaving. Are they leaving?
So there was people who were trying to attack it, and they've kind of been sieging on and off. And there was people trying to get back into their base, and they see, like, again, they want to show you this horrible, brutal world. So it's these, these kind of wayward pilgrims. It basically seems like if you're not into S&M, you're very unlikely to get by in this world. It's only the sado and or masochistic in this world who seem to be able to eke out a living for themselves. These folks in this nice base, they're all dressed like they're in ABBA, and they're all as nice as if they're in ABBA. They are. They are. Yeah. And they're like ABBA before the divorce, or like so far after the divorce, where they're like, hey, it's kind of, hey, we're buddies again,
Yeah, and we're holograms and it's fine. It's the creeps from before and their lot who are doing all of the, attacking of the base. The base is being attacked. People from the nice ABBA people are being attacked. They, attack and kill a woman.
They've got flamethrowers.
They got all that stuff.
This problem is we make this joke so often that I can't actually say it earnestly ever, but it's like, this would all be special effects now. They had to... There's so many cars all the way out there.
Yeah.
In the 80s in Australia. Imagine doing that now. Like that. That's so much labor has went into making this. Hey, it's a cool base. I hope someone makes Metal Gear Solid 5.
It's a very physically hot working day, I would imagine, making this film.
Fucking sand. Smelling of gasoline and dog food. Oh, I'm glad it's Mel Gibson.
Yeah, in retrospect.
Yeah. A fitting punishment.
So Max goes out to save the one survivor of this attack, takes him back into the base. The guy's like, look, mate, you can have loads of petrol. Just take me back.
The lot.
Mate, you can have the lot. Just get me back there. I've written here that I like how everyone in this film looks weird in some way. Even the ABBA folk.
Yeah. They haven't went for the obvious kind of, unique casting choices that you would get in a Hollywood production or whatever when they want like loads of kind of, distinct looking folks or whatever.
Yeah.
This just feels like, I don't know, they got a lot of like local people who, they look like real people.
Yes.
In the way that like, there's lots of very interesting, like there's some really thin people, there's some really broad people, there's some absolutely like 5-star Bobby Dazzler ugly fuckers here. And it's great. You don't see them on your screen very often. It feels not your typical Hollywood fare.
Mel Gibson is Hollywood handsome. Everyone else is also in this film. And that's a great thing, There's a lovely range.
I love their base. It has got pigs, chickens, and bunnies, which is basically Stardew Valley if you start one of the farms where they spawn pillagers and guzzling on your starting plot.
Game developers, here's an idea for you. A kind of Stardew Valley, but in the post-apocalypse, and it's all Mad Max, and you've got to go out and get fuel. The gas deal that he had, the deal of, look, get me back to the base and you'll get your gas.
All you can drink.
That has died with the guy who has now died. The person he rescued is dead, and the leader of this camp is like, look, the deal died with him, mate. Don't know what you're talking about. You should have got it in pen and paper. You should have got some signatures on there. It's a handshake deal, but that hand is dead. That's a dead hand.
There's some weirdo who's like, I'm the notary. Like, there's always some like weird remnants of bureaucracy in it in a post-apocalyptic world where he'll have all the gear on here, but he'll only have his fucking Y fronts on, and it'd be, oh no, but I have to get it notarized, so go on then. So look, they got a big attack coming here. Mad Max gets looped into helping them defend, and they bust out the flamethrowers, which honestly, the flame cannons, I think like for a final in Wembley Stadium, pop them out, like, spice it up a little bit, like,
The term, the Ayatollah of rock and roller.
Yes, introduce Lord Humongous.
What's that little phrase from? Is that from this? What's it been used in since? It's been, I'm sure
wrestling again.
Loads, yeah, okay.
Chris Jericho in the early 90s, he was the Ayatollah of rock and roller.
Yeah,
because only he had seen Mad Max 2 of that generation.
Lord Humongous, the Humongous gang. These are the Humongouses.
Look. Just when I thought, I was like, all right, please get rid of all the hereditary peers. But then I see Lord Humongous, and I'm like, I'm on the fence again, Sam. Like, I don't want to lose that in the upper chamber, No. There's a lot no one's as big as him. He's huge.
And he's literally cutting a fucking promo. Like, he just comes to the base with a mic.
And with a mic. This Sunday, I'm going to be in that arena right over there, and I'm going to get you.
Yeah.
Because I'm Lord Humongous.
It's not even like, we'll attack you now. It's like, you've got until the pay-per-view tomorrow night to decide what you want to do and who's going to be your tag team partner.
You've got my dander up. And I just hate it if all you fans came in that arena. I'm so mad. You better not come to the 3 p.m. meet and greet, I swear to God.
There's a loose child, a sort of feral child knocking about.
Yes, it's kind of slipped in from New Zealand from one of the Lord of the Rings movies, it seems like. Or perhaps Willow, or perhaps Ewok's Caravan of Courage.
Yes. This little child seems to be a kind of wild card neutral figure who's just...
What does it mean to be a child in a place such as this?
Wow. He's got a killer boomerang that...
Whoa!
Does actually kill the mate. Well, I say mate, like maybe boyfriend, maybe partner, maybe friend of that scary pink hair guy. Poof, gone.
I like how long the arc of a boomerang takes in a scene such as this, because it's just long enough for you to be like, an Australian movie where they're throwing a boomerang? Well, I see, and then hands fall off. I was right. I stopped the movie. I left ITVX, and I went straight on YouTube looking at boomerang fails for the next 20 minutes. Good stuff.
I didn't realise it was metal until it collided with that lad's head. I expected it, dunk, and someone to be like, ow, for God's sake. But it was like
a frisbee.
Ow, I'm fully dead. Like, I didn't realise that was a thing with boomerangs, but you can have sharp ones that will kill.
I'm assuming there's strict carry laws about boomerangs. Not like in all places. Like,
yeah.
You know, except you could probably it's probably like the Wild West in New Zealand. It's like, you could go and buy all the boomerangs you like. It's like Spain in the 90s where you could buy like mace and nightsticks or whatever it was when you're on holiday.
Someone's died, someone's had their fingers chopped off, and all of these humongous gang are laughing. They're chuckling at chaos.
Yeah, it's a good night, isn't it? You know?
Yeah.
Look, we've all been there in the pub and you hear what's that noise? It's the pitter-patter of some fingers falling and then a glass breaks and we're like, we don't like that anymore. We've moved on as a culture.
So the deal is, right, walk away, give up that compound, give up the oil.
And place the WCCW International Championship around my waistband.
And they are sort of talking about it.
This diplomacy, when someone's like, oh, I have an opinion, and they're like, oh, you and I know, we can't do that anymore. It's showing you how they got to apocalypse in the first place, Sam. Too much talk.
Yeah, too much talk. Whereas, right, Mad Max, who is approached by the child who just murdered someone with a boomerang, the child comes up to Mad Max. Max, he's got the music box that plays Happy Birthday. He gives that to the child. He uses the only language that any children understand, free stuff. If you give a child a thing...
I think I say birthdays.
You give a child a thing to keep, and they're on side, you know?
You give a child a birthday, they'll be extremely happy.
Yeah.
You give a child 2 birthdays, they'll be ecstatic. You give a child 35 birthdays... They're an adult.
Yes, boo. Mad Max will remember the birthdays that he once had in the before time and will want to share. This child will have never known a true birthday.
I thought that Lord Humongous, he did a great deal at negotiating there about what he wanted. There was a reason he was appointed, head of the department for exiting the European Union. I thought he took no prisoners. Yep. And he showed up. He made demands, and then he came up again the next day and he also made demands. And he continued to do that throughout the movie until his untimely death. And I thought that's the kind of man I want advocating for us in the big seat.
That's how you get stuff done. That's how you get it over the line. Max is offering the people of the community a big rig, big enough to haul all of their gas.
A big rig big enough to rig this whole thing?
Yes.
In their favour.
They can't stay there because the humongous gang are going to get them. But they can't. They've got so much gas to transport what they're going to do. Max is like, look, I know where Big Rig is. I will get your stuff out of here.
Biggest rig, man.
I hadn't noticed the transitional wipes, but the wipes start to really kick in at this point. There's some nice... Zoop.
Is it just if you're in the desert, it ends up happening?
Yeah.
I swear, it's part of the desert code, the way you close gates in the countryside. You film in the desert, you have to use wipes. Sure, isn't it well for some now? He's off there and he's meant to be lugging all this gas and sure, look, he's found his former prisoner. And sure, now it's him that's carrying the gas.
He knows how to delegate, Mad Max. Has the gyro captain just been walking around all chained up?
Yeah, pretty much. He's got... he's quite a sympathetic character at points. Yeah. He does have an awful lot working against him. And I do think there's a way where you can watch the movie and be like, oh yeah, Mad Max, he's the hero and all that jazz. But he's not really he's just kind of going about it's in the way that I think when you're a protagonist in an RPG, you think, oh, I'm the good guy. But I think from other people's perspectives, you might come across as a bit of a dick.
Kevin, it goes a long way that he's the most handsome one, so you just kind of go, oh yeah, he's the good
handsome bias. That's all it is.
They fly back to where the big rig was in the gyrocopter. I was very upset that you don't really get a scene of the copter taking off. You don't get the kind of, I don't know, is there pedaling involved? Is there some... It feels like...
He does seem to pedal at points, yeah.
Yeah.
But I was, again, impressed, like I was with most of the visuals in this movie of like, hey, you shot really well. It probably was the one thing that was slightly... eyes bigger than your stomach in terms of like having loads and loads and loads. It looked better than when Bond did it, is all I said. And all the people looked a lot more into it than when Bond was driving around yawning as he killed everyone in his helicopter.
Once they've got to the big rig, and Max has got the big rig, he just abandons old Silly Billy again, which seems very... that's the point where I'd be like, oh, actually, mate, come on, you're one of the ones, get in with me and we'll...
He's an habitual abandoner, this guy. He can't get enough of it. And sure, look, that's the way it is. Once he has his rig, he doesn't mind. He's off, he goes again. But I don't mind anytime anyone gets into a vehicle in this movie, because it means they're going to get another chase.
Yeah.
And boy, do we get another chase. And there's a fucking helicopter and a rig. Yay!
He's attacked by a lot of baddies trying to get this rig back to the base.
The snakes get dropped from a helicopter onto people. That's the best thing ever. That's so good.
That's great.
It is. I love it.
There's quite a lot of very graphic little sequences in this chase. There's some lads like working underneath a car, and then the car gets knocked and it just falls directly onto his legs.
Oh, yeah.
Horrible. But then there's a silly bit where there's a man and a woman who are shagging and they get unveiled and they're like, oh, no, we've been you know, there's something for everyone.
There is. Something for dads, something for mums as well, readers of Mum and Dad magazine, all sorts, you know, here in this. I do like, though, because I feel a lot of the movies of the 70s in particular, anytime we've done this like Bond or whatever, they almost make like getting run over by a car seem like fun, where it's like they roll over and they roll around and they're all lying on the ground laughing like, it was a summer we never forgot. Whereas here, when you get run over, you get run well the fuck over. Yeah. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
They've got the opposite of potholes here. They've got lumps in the road where carcasses have piled up for all the people they're running over all the time. No one's sweeping the streets anymore.
But it's offset by that nice little spoonful of silliness. Wes is the name of the pink hair lad.
Wes!
Him, I think he's in the base or he's somewhere.
He is in the base.
Doing a big flip before he then dumps someone off the edge of a ledge. Fucking spectacular.
Yeah, this is when the siege commences again and they attack the base. This guy's got the moves, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Oh, damn, kid, you ever thought about getting into the sport of professional wrestling? This is the problem. You live in the shadow of someone like Lord Humongous, you think it's not for you, it's only him. And I think, well... Lord Humongous doesn't leave his feet the entire movie. This guy's out here, solid 320, doing backflips, standing fucking moonsault. I think this guy is overcompensating when he doesn't even need to try that hard.
The agility for a man of this size, you know, it's that kind of thing.
Sam,
can really go.
We've literally heard a lot about this man. That's what I want to say about him. Interesting strategy.
Sorry, I love that as a wrestling thing of like.
Yeah, we've heard a lot about this man.
Off camera, you know? We've heard a lot
just
about
around.
this. Wow,
the water cooler, you know. Interesting pre-siege strategy here, psyching them out with crucifixions. These guys are not a million miles removed from just being orcs from Lord of the Rings. I'm going to say it now, you know. Yes, they're sexier. Okay, you're right, you know. We don't need you to yell out like that.
There's a nice thing in the fact that this is sort of myth and legend, but based on cars and vehicles and things, because it does have that sort of fantasy movie feel a little bit, even though it's stuff that,
definitely.
It's gasoline and... cars, which
all of the variety of all the cars or whatever it is, like that for me, it's always just such a joy to see all these like the ramshackle, and it looks like all thrown together, but then you realize like every single vehicle in this thing is like a labor of love. Like I can't imagine how many people were involved in designing it and then making it work. That's the thing that's like, you know, that's the one that's probably is harder than you realize watching a movie where you don't see them break down all the time.
Can I do some interesting word association with you, Kevin? All right,
yes, please, Sam. Yes, please.
Big car, dragon, gasoline, magic. You know, it's not that far removed from the fantasy world when you think about it. If you think of it as a myth and a legend.
Let's do some other word association.
Yeah.
Okay. Guzzolene. Mithril. All right? Yeah. Cars. Shadowfax. Yeah. The big base.
Yeah.
Right? The Fortress of Dungledore. You know? Yeah. Mad Max.
Okay.
Celebrimbor. You know that.
Oh no,
you know what I mean?
Doing all the specific names of places and things from Lord of the Rings now.
And the Rings of Power. I went into the extended universe there.
Did you watch all of the second season of Rings of Power?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it any good?
What are you asking me that for? What are you asking me that for?
It's cruel to ask if it's good.
What does it mean to you? Nothing.
Look, I'm just giving you a taste of the medicine I received when I was watching later seasons of Lost, and people are like, it's still good, is it? Whereas, Rings of Power is
they still lost, mate.
We've managed to get the big rig back to the big base.
Safe.
We've got to fix it. There's humour in this, though, because they're like, look, this is broken, this is broken, this is broken, it's all fucked. What does that mean, though? Well, it's going to take 24 hours. You've got 12. And they're like, okay. There's a nice little thing of like, it's a bit of a laugh. It's fun.
There's a lot of movies that have obviously been inspired by this and set it in that kind of post-apocalypse or whatever, but are like really, really morose. And no more so than Fallout mastered that from the word go. Having this light, doesn't make it goofy. It just
there's a light touch.
There's a light touch. That's all it is. I like to attribute to the Australian good sense of humour that they are known for.
Yeah, that's very true.
A little bit of levity. Yes. I just feel like if this was made in Hollywood in the 80s, everyone would have to be fucking kissing and like doing it because someone they love is kidnapped. And they'd all be like really super, like the fact that there's loads of people here who aren't like, they're technically the quote unquote goodies, but like half of them are cowards and like a bunch of them are just like clearly just here because it's a good deal or whatever it is. The leader of the ABBA group, he's like as big a prick as the leader of actual ABBA during the divorce. He calls Mad Max garbage.
Yeah.
He's like, there should be an oil rig. You should get a garbage truck and put you in it.
I think if this was a Hollywood movie, right, that the fact that they have 24 hours worth of repairs to do, but they've only got 12 hours to do it, would be a plot point where they're all panicking, like, oh my God, we've got to get together and really got to blah, blah, blah. Whereas this is just like, oh yeah, we'll get it done, mate, it's sorted.
Yeah, just get on with this.
Yeah.
And I attribute that to the can-do attitude that the Australians are known for,
yes.
Sam. It's not news for any of them watching it. They're like, obviously.
So, all of the ABBA lot, right? They're like, look, Max, take a chance on us.
Camelot, right? Yeah. ABBA-lot, yeah? There's the two rounds. It's like an analogous, like an analogy, you know?
They want Max to drive the big rig for them and get them out of there. But he's like, look, guys, he's Australian, but he's still like, look, guys, I'm going to take my
He's been in a couple of car accidents this movie already. Like, he's kind of, you know. I might sit this one out, you know.
He doesn't want in. They're like, look, oh mate, we're going to go to the Sunshine Coast. It looks so beautiful. Look, there's going to be babes and water. I don't think there's going to be babes and water, but they've got like a picture of, you know.
No, but maybe there'll be like Baja-style tacos. You know, you got to be hopeful of the future, Sam. Come on.
Do you think if this was in the UK, they'd be like, we're going to go to Blackpool. Look, it'll be...
They'd go to Morecambe. That's where the Eden Project is.
Yes. But Max wants to leave, and they have no choice but to let him go.
As per his contract.
Look, he didn't sign the papers. He's not agreed to drive the big rig. He's just agreed to get the big rig. So he is owed his petrol, and he gets out of there. But what happens in this movie when anyone goes anywhere, Kevin?
Well, we have to get in a car, and I always say, if you're going to get in a car, you might as well have a car chase. Hey. That's why I'm banned from driving. So they get in a car, and this is the best type of car chase. You don't get these anymore because they just do it with special effects.
Yeah.
Where they fast forward bits of it to make it faster. Yes! Fucking Laurel and Hardy ass fucking car chase. and except Laurel and Hardy are dying and burst into flames. Oh no! Ah!
It's a nitrous-powered cart that is being used to catch up to Max here. That is such a fucking Crash Bandicoot Warp Racers thing. I love that that's in this. It's
so
beautiful.
good.
Yeah, wonderful stuff.
But yes, he is pretty much fucked in this big car wreck, saved by an angel by way of a reprobate known as the Gyro Captain.
Moses like himself.
He awakens in the HQ and they're basically like, yeah, maybe you should actually drive the rig now that you're kind of like all fucked up even more than you were before. Come on.
Kevin, look, as a dog, I say owner, but I'm more of a friend to Stanley, I would say.
I would consider you mates, but that's your verbiage, not mine.
And thank you to Dogmate for sponsoring this episode.
Do you want to date a dog? Have I got an app for you? There are literally dozens of dogs waiting to take you on a date. Whatever you want.
They've killed the dog. The dog was called Dog, and these baddies have killed the dog. And look, nowadays, with your John Wicks, I think, that's like an impetus for an entire revenge movie.
Yeah, but this is just... It's just another bleak little... It's barely punctuation. And that's why I always thought in Fallout how tragically easy it is for your dog companion to die. It's like, well, that's the way it was in the thing that inspired it. Easy come, easy go. I'm sure you'll find another one and then decide whether or not it'll be better to eat it instead.
The shot where the Gyro Captain is saving Max and you see Max like lying down, floating over the wasteland, is a really good shot.
Just like Lord of the Rings.
It's really well done. What is less nice is the slow motion shot of the gyro pilot going, relax, partner, like being really kind of scary in slow motion. But, you know.
Yeah, I think it's good to know whether or not you're the type of person who's scary when, if the person you're talking to, you may not realize this, but you may be coming across as if you are in slow motion.
Right.
I'm always very conscious of that some people might be listening to this podcast and they might have taken some sort of a substance or been hit upside the head and it's all slow. So I don't want to sound too creepy. That in slow-mo, Jesus, what are you doing? Awful.
I've only ever really considered people listening to this at like 1.25 or 1.5 speed. There might be some listening to it at 0.5. And well, you're welcome. You're very welcome.
It's one of the only cases on... Like, when people listen to these podcasts like 1.5 speed, it's the only recorded scientifically accurate case of someone both saving and wasting time at the same time. It's incredible. No. It's like this infinite vortex.
I think do what you want. And a lot of the time with podcasts, I'm thinking, let's just get this over with. Let's just get it done.
I speak as fast as I can, Sam, to stop them doing it. I said I speak as fast as I can to get them stop for doing it. I really, really wish they wouldn't do it. It's something that really upsets me. And anyway, so we go back to the movie. I can't drive the rig, Mad Max, you mad bastard.
He's the best chance they've got. He wakes up and he's like, look, I'm all fucked up, but I'm the best chance you've got. And again, he is Australian. He's not talking like that.
I think that the situation here for Mad Max is he knows he's going to need to be sat down for at least another 10 hours, and he might as well be sat down in a rig that's driving him towards where they need to go. It feels like it's an easy situation. Everyone comes out looking rosy.
This last, I guess, 20-25 minutes of the film,
one big fucking chase.
There's basically no words. It's a big old chase. There's a lot going on, but it's quite hard to describe how good this is, because I think it is very good.
I mean, you know it's good when it starts off by them smashing out of their base and then blowing up the base.
Yeah.
You give us opening explosions. That is the beginning of the piece. Then I've always thought, like, there's certain times you watch movies have ludicrous amounts of action scenes or fight scenes or whatever it is. And I mentioned the Marvel movies as an example, but a lot of Marvel movies or even DC movies I've watched in the last 10 years, and I've genuinely sat down, a man who's loved fighting, choreographed fighting in movies and wrestling and TV my whole life, thinking, have I simply seen too many fight scenes? Are they just boring? And it's like, no, sometimes I think it's just that we get into trends and habits of doing things a certain way. And you could feel that perhaps about some chase sequences with vehicles in, John Wick had to ride a horse for a reason, folks. Because it's been a long time since they did that in True Lies, and it's hard to stream now. But, but here, boy, oh boy, I feel like I could watch this fucking chase scene over and over. It's so good in a movie full of chase scenes. Yeah. I've had 3 pizzas, and the 4th was somehow the best.
You gotta now picture me watching this at, 6:30 in the morning?
What? The sun's coming up!
Yeah. This was an overwhelming experience in a good way.
The dawn chorus, and all the cars going... Cars on fire driving. Yep. Yes!
Oh, yeah.
Cars on fire crashing. Yes, everyone's dying. There's loads of people you're like, oh, they're gonna... No, they're dead. The movie's all ending soon.
People on fire, but they're not just like, I'm on fire. They're like, oh, fuck it, fire. There's like real, that's how I'd be if I was on fire. I'd be like,
fantastic. And look, if you're gonna die, and you know you're dying, a few flips there. I think there's been a lot of talk about, end-of-life care and stuff recently in the news. Yeah. And I'll say it, if you've got money anywhere, you can squeeze it out in a discretionary budget, and I'm in hospice care and you know that I'm dying, could you not rig up the bed a bit so you give me a couple of twirls before I die? You'd send me off happy? You'd make the funeral home feel weird because I'd have such a big smile on my face that at the wake they'd be like, what's he so fucking happy about?
I reckon get that bed on top of a big rig and it's what he would want. And it's what he will get.
And as soon as you said that, my mind was like, why do I feel like Idris Elba will be advertising beds soon, but it'll be like he's on top of a big rig in a bed, being like, this is an 18-wheeler deal. That's right, it's me, Idris Elba, in another advert. Sorry, you thought James Bond? Do you mean loads of ads? He is actually. No, we've discussed it. He is going to do that.
Why is he doing so many ads?
He's in demand. He's in demand.
Fair enough.
You know, I think he's within the window of being named GQ's sexiest man alive a few times.
Yes.
And you gotta make the hay while the sun is shining.
I agree. I don't begrudge him that Sky TV money.
What do you want him to do? Act? I want to find out what perks I get with Sky Cinema, please.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Oh, no, I don't get the fast chair. Or the sun? No, okay. No, it's sorry. It's okay. I'm enjoying the ad.
Very good selling and face reactions from everyone throughout this whole chase thing. That's it. Again, very wrestling, not understated at all.
No.
If you're falling or dying or angry or scary or scared, you're going to show it in your face and you're going to go, whoa.
Yeah, case in point, that nasty bastard who was a freak on a leash who then became unleashed.
Yes.
You think he's dead at one point, and he comes up over the cab going, it's the face of the film as far as I'm concerned.
Yes.
Great stuff.
And you get a little boy, the little feral boy is also there during this chase. He's managed to sort of climb on board this whole thing. He's then screaming back at the scary man, and it's just a real it's
people are like that now. It's after the pandemic when you notice people doing that in the shops, going and it's like we've adjusted now. We accept it. It's just the way that the culture has changed. Is
We're
all
back.
It is.
Yeah,
we are LFG.
We're so back.
We are LFG. LFG. You know what I like, Sam? Any movie that puts across the scarcity, the ammunition. Like when he gets a bag of bullets at the start of this, you're like, oh my god, this man is set to fucking kill everyone on Earth. And then when they fall over and they're all scattering around, you're like, well, you might as well use that last bullet on yourself, Mad Max. Because it's really good. I like the dynamic that they use of, throughout the movie where you realise, he hasn't got a bullet in his gun. Is there a game where that happens? Because I was thinking, surely in The Last of Us, if you come up to someone and point a gun at them, even if you've not got bullets, will they go, I'm not going to start a new game and die like an idiot to find out. But I feel that should be in games more. It's a cool, the bluff versus potential for violence, that decision you got to make.
I mean, there was that whole game that was sort of a Russian roulette type thing, and the idea was about bluffing. But look.
What we've been saying throughout this review, folks, is that popular media, there's still loads more left to mine from the deep vein of inspiration that is Mad Max the Road Warrior.
They're genuinely really
It's we've pitched like 3 fucking concept albums and 2 games so far.
The Stardew Valley post-apocalyptic one feels very
that
good.
Feels like a goer.
Yeah.
And the dog becoming a watch. That's obviously a... I'm sorry, Stanley. You're a watch now, big man. That's just the way it is. It's what Dog Dust want. They own Stanley now. That's he's theirs.
The baddies sort of that Wes guy and Humongous.
Yeah, they collide.
Bang.
Boy, do they ever.
And the big rig. Right, there's a twist here that the big rig just has sand in it.
Yes, so the whole thing was a distraction.
It was a ruse.
And now basically everyone who you could vaguely even recognize, bar like I think one lady who's with the gyro captain and the little boy. Everyone else is pretty much dead at this point.
Yeah.
But they had hid the gasoline in their vehicles and let the target, like Max, be kind of like the point where they could all attack or whatever it was. But what's funny about it is they haven't told him that either. He only realizes after the fact that he wasn't protecting this precious thing. He was just, in a roundabout way, being taken advantage of. So there is like... You learn about the harshness of the quid pro quo and the apocalypse here, is what I'm saying.
It's dog eat dog food out there, and everyone's looking after themselves.
Well, it's actually man eat dog food. Dog eat dog food scraps, and then dog die.
Yeah.
Again, thank you to Dog Dust for
thank you, Dog Dust.
Again, yeah.
Dog Pass and Dog Mate for sponsoring this episode. Second twist: the narrator was in fact Little Boy.
And they elected Johnny Gyro as Prime Minister? Fucking hell.
And then Little Boy eventually became the leader, implying some sort of, dispute or death or, some kind of succession of power there. But it was Gyro Captain. I don't know if they made it to the coast.
Or is it just tall tales? It's like, it's very nice when it kind of like, and respectfully to the movie because it intends this way. It doesn't kind of really matter, Because there are people who you see flashbacks in other movies and, there's characters who it's like, oh, they're kind of alluded to being the same person or whatever it is. But they are very much like standalones. And I do feel like that is more, and you mentioned John Wick. I'm scared of watching John Wick 4 because when I watched John Wick 3, there was a lot of details that I felt I needed to know from John Wick 2 and 1 that I had kind of forgotten. And I've forgotten them even more now. And I know, there's movies where, like that, where you go, it doesn't really matter, though. You can just kind of watch it. It doesn't really matter. But they kind of would like you to know that. Genuinely, this feels like anthology-like. When you end with Max just walking off into the sunset, I was sitting there being like, all right, when's the next one? Let's do it again. I'm surprised there's not a million more and a TV series.
And who was never heard of again. That's the end of their story with the Road Warrior.
Well, they didn't want to do another one, apparently, after this. That was, initially it was a hesitation to do another one after this.
It's a good ending. What I've realised about sequels and the point in time was that I know we had, VHS by this point, but there wasn't an expectation that if you're going to the movies to see the sequel, you have definitely seen the first one. Whereas I think now, with the...
I feel there would have been. If you had seen Empire Strikes Back, they would have expected you to see the first one.
Yeah, that's true.
You kind of could get away with it, I guess,
I love a standalone sequel that, you can just pick up and watch it despite not really knowing anything about the first one. That's great. Love that.
There is definitely, stuff to be gained from watching them all, and, I think when you watch one after having seen this, I'm sure there'll be a lot of interesting insight that you'll have from having seen it. But also, sure. I think had the opposite been the case, we did one first, then two, it would have been, a delight in its own regard. But I do want to, before we get into your closing thoughts, I wanted just to hit again about Fury Road. Okay. And at the end of this, just how strong was the connection, I guess, is really what I wanted to know. Did this feel like kind of, part of all one big happy family, or were you feeling like you were watching its own thing at the end of it?
This felt different, but I need to watch Fury Road again because I think I will enjoy it perhaps more than I did at the time, and I thought it was good at the time. That idea of the kind of myth and legend thing is very interesting to me, and that you can tell the same sort of story in different ways because of the nature of what this is. That's quite cool. I like that as an idea. That's very interesting. I don't remember enough about Fury Road, and I need to get back into it.
But I've not heard a lot in the way of like things you didn't like about this movie.
Because there's not many.
It's simply presented, isn't it? And I don't want to say there's not many ingredients, because there's a lot, obviously, of literal moving parts in the desert somehow working seamlessly for all these beautiful chase scenes.
Yeah.
But was there anything that took away from you? Because oftentimes we like complain about like, oh, this character wasn't developed or that, but like everyone is kind of short on things to say in this movie, and that's to its strength, I feel.
Yeah, it's very direct and straightforward in a very good way.
There are video games that I wish had the brief touch with the dialogue that this does.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Fucking hell do I wish that some video games would take inspiration from that aspect of it.
It's not overdone, I would say. Even though sometimes it's quite, the chases there's a lot going on. It's meaty. There's a lot to it, but it's not overwrought. It's not trying to be more than it is.
Do you think you entered into the realms of squeamish territory with some of the violence, or was it very much a fist-pumping experience?
A little bit, sometimes, but there's enough not cartoonish, but there's like...
There's a bit of a silly to it, for sure.
Yeah. There's some silliness that kind of softens it, which is great. It doesn't take itself super seriously.
I think it's cartoonish in the fact that literally it's unavoidable that some ways in which humans do often die, if at high speed in post-apocalyptic scenario and tumbly cars, they are just by their nature quite cartoonish. I feel there's very little dignity in rolling around in a big silly orc car and then exploding into flames and twirling around.
It's funny stuff.
It is.
The film looks great.
Wow, does it?
It looks brilliant, I think. It's obviously there's a lot of practical effects going on. The fact that I don't think there were any digital effects, or if they were used extremely subtly that I didn't notice them at all. It's films like this where if they do that sort of stuff, nowadays you fucking notice it and it takes you out of it. Whereas this felt tangible and...
Yeah, I don't think there was anything, or even like miniature work or whatever I would have said would have been the more common thing. It didn't feel like that. It felt like they just had a lot of fucking cars and they went to town on it. If you hadn't guessed accurately in the pre-swirl and you just watched this movie, would you have said 1981 or 1980 or wherever it was as like where you think it pitched its time?
Maybe a bit later, I think, because it kind of...
Yeah. Does it leave you wanting more Mad Max? Is that on the docket for you?
Yes.
I'm expecting glowing things here. I know you're jet lagged, Sam, and you watched it at a really weird time.
It was a weird time.
Yeah. But I feel like the experience of watching it in that respect feels like it's just enhanced your overall time with the movie.
It certainly was a unique way of watching a movie, and it didn't take away from it. It wasn't a negative. And for a movie like this to feel good that early in the morning, it's done something very powerful.
I think if you watched The Omen at 4:30 in the morning or whenever it was,
that wouldn't have been great.
Might have been a good time.
No.
Might have fucked you up for the day. You would have been no good to anyone.
But it's interesting that I can't really think of anything that I didn't like about this.
Okay. See, that sounds like it's almost kind of perfect, but I don't know. That's just me thinking that the absence of anything bad makes something perfect.
I respect the almost efficiency of this movie. Like the kind, like the
it didn't waste your time.
It's not humble. What am I trying to say? It's like steak and chips. It's like, look, here you go, and it's cooked well, and they've done it.
It's an honest movie, Sam.
It's an honest movie. It's an honest movie, Kevin, is what it is.
So what's the honest rating for the honest movie then?
Right. Okay. Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior.
2 Star Wipes.
No. 4.5 star wipes.
You heard it here first.